The champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he's the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom. Covering it all, laughing at all, while providing a platform to be heard. So you know what we like to do around this time. We got to welcome our guests, man. I'm not going to cut right to it because we got a lot to talk about my man right here. So excited to have him in the house. The Director of Business Development and Sports Research Innovation Initiative at UNLV. Let's clap it up for Jay Vickers. Let's clap it up. Yes, welcome, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother.
Oh,
Good
man.
to see you.
Hey, good to see you, man. It's so just the whole backstory is amazing. But glad to have you in here. So how we start the show, man, is we start the show with a shoot your shot moment. So this is where you give us a story where you bet on yourself, win or lose, you went for it all, and you're like, yo, I got this. I'm going to go for it. So win or lose, give us that shoot your shot story. Then don't give yourself, man, I always shoot my shot. Go.
You know what's interesting is that I feel like I got two moments when I shot my shot.
Okay, let's hit it.
The first one is, being a first-generation college grad, you don't know exactly what you want to do, how you're going to do it. So I made a decision because I grew up in Florida, Seminole fan.
Florida boys,
Watched,
FLA, let's go.
Watch Charlie Ward, watch Ward Dunn, all
Yes,
these
yes,
guys.
let's go.
Just the greatness that Florida State had back in the 90s.
Shout out Coach Sanders, too. Now
Right
Coach
on.
Sanders,
Oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah. So back in the 90s, back then, just
Bobby B.
watching just that whole just generation of Seminoles coming out. But I made a decision that was going to definitely change my life for the next 40 years. And that wasn't something I was thinking about. What I was thinking about at that time was I just got to get a scholarship. I got to figure out a way to get out.
Right.
I got to figure out a way to make my parents proud. And me being a Seminole and doing a tomahawk chop was going to be the way to do it. But when I met different people, and I want to say Lou Holtz, when I went to I went to go visit Notre Dame, and even before then, I was getting recruited to protect the school at the time that was recruiting me. But I was fortunate to get recruited by several schools.
Awesome.
And I had a knee injury my senior year in high school, and I'm sitting there with a big brace on. And the guy, I asked the recruiter, I said, "Look, why are you still recruiting me?" And he said, I have this big knee brace on, and you're telling me to come to your school.
Uh-huh.
He goes, "Jay, well, I love the fact that you're a student athlete. We know you're qualified. You got a 4.2 GPA. You're already taking college
Boy.
courses.
Where
You're
they do
doing
that
all these type. Well, I was a nerd jock, so you're doing all these type things." He goes, "We need that here at our institution." So finally, listen to my mom and dad. The light bulb went off, and I said, "Listen, so you recruiting me because of my grades? Because you know I can play ball, I can run again?" And he goes, "Absolutely. We got the best doctors." All right. Actually took them off the list and only looked at schools that had a great tradition in academics and athletics. So I
Wow.
looked at schools like Northwestern and Michigan, Notre Dame and Duke and others. And granted, Duke didn't have that from an athletic standpoint,
Right.
but they had the academics.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I still kept Florida State on there. But when I went to Notre Dame and the family and the brotherhood that we have, the guys that I still connect with, it was
That's
a leap
dope.
of faith to go away from my parents, away from all my family, away from the people that I love, that I knew about, and being in that comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
and going that far away. My first time on a plane at that time was going on my visit to Notre
On the
Dame.
visit. Wow.
That's a shot.
No, that's a real shot,
Yeah.
right?
that is a definitely shoot.
Let
your
me tell you,
shot
the
moment.
real shot is going from Florida to Indiana,
Oh,
and that cold.
We gonna get into
we definitely gonna get
we
into that.
gonna get into that
So-
for
so-
sure.
So ahead with it, Miles.
So where did the love, kind of backing up, where did the love for sports start?
You know what, man? I was just a young kid, and I was exposed to it just by playing outside. And you have different people that decide they want to be part of a fraternity, they want to be part of a sorority, they want to be part of any kind of club, or in the case maybe my club was sports. My club was being outside, and that's how I made friends. That's how I was able to separate myself from the others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was my cool factor, if you will. And the fact that I was gifted with speed, gifted with size, gifted with a tenacity to go out and try to just, outperform the competition, it attracted me, but then it attracted me to other people.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to build those relationships that at the time, as a young kid, you don't realize how important those relationships are.
Right.
And you start to realize then that, man, I got great friends. Some of the best friends I've met in my entire life is I met them on the football field or the basketball court or on the track, whatever the case may be, because I ran track and played football.
What was the event in track?
Gotta ask that.
100 and 4x1
Ooh.
and a 200.
What leg? Yeah.
At over 200 pounds?
So my
Y'all different in Florida.
yeah.
Right,
So
no,
my
100%.
my senior year, I ran at the Nike Combine. I ran a 4.43.
Humble brag.
Yeah.
The Nike Combine.
How much
huh?
you weigh then?
I was probably 205.
205.
Damn, scooting.
4.3.
Yeah.
What leg did you run 4x?
Second when we won a state championship.
4x1?
Yeah. I was
4x2?
a sophomore. No, 4x1.
4x1.
200? 400?
I ran the 200, but then I ran the 100.
But the 200 is like punishment, though.
No, the 400
The
is
400
punishment.
that's
the
That's
punishment.
true. That's what they really don't like you.
They was like,
Mom,
400, 800, get 2 laps.
Let me tell you, that 400, my
Right,
coaches
keep
say,
going.
look, you gotta run that, Vickers. You gotta run that.
No.
Yeah, coach, I'm hamstring tight.
Nah, I feel it.
So, growing up, brothers and sisters?
Yes. So I have 2 sisters, 1 brother. We're 2 half sisters,
Okay.
but we don't see each other that way
No,
by
at
any
all.
means. Then I have a brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any of them play sports as well?
Brother played football.
Okay.
My sisters didn't play sports,
Mhm.
so that's pretty much it.
Nice.
So it was a naturally running back position, right, in high school?
You know what? It was defense, and I always had a attraction to running back
Okay.
because of my speed
Okay.
and the ability just to be able to play it. And so I kept asking my coach, hey, coach, I want to play running back. Let me get in and play running back. Because, you played it when you played Sandlot or other things that you did. You could play it then. But
Mhm.
I asked him, and finally he says, all right, go in there and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my first practices, or several practices, I get in, and I just ran. And when you do that, and he's looking at you going,
Run, Forrest.
oh, okay, pretty much, right?
Run, Forrest.
And so then we got into a drill,
Okay.
and back then we had drills where
Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma.
So we had
Real
a drill.
drills.
Real drills.
I lowered the shoulder on someone, and to this day, if I see that brother, he's like,
He's still in concussion protocol, huh?
he don't play football anymore.
Yeah. He went to go run 2 laps on the track.
And that's
I'll run
exactly
a
what he
800.
said. He goes, look,
Hey,
at that
Oklahoma
moment, I
drill.
realized I was done. And,
Oklahoma drill making more basketball
Yeah.
players than anywhere in the world.
well, the beautiful thing about running back is that the ball's in your hand.
Uh-huh.
There's
Yep.
a certain amount of responsibility.
Yep.
People are looking at you, and there's a certain thing going on with you mentally because it's you against, and you have your teammates, and they got to make their blocks, but there's 11 angry guys coming after you.
For sure.
And so,
Well, maybe 10, because maybe the corner is like, if 220
Yeah,
pounds,
if you coming downhill,
I'll stay blocked.
that's right. That's a business decision.
you know what you get is you get that tackle when the arm kind of goes to the side.
Yep,
So
exactly.
I've seen that happen a couple of times, and you're running. When you're in the moment and you're running and you're seeing a guy do that, I just chuckle.
Wow, just laughing at him in the game.
Yeah,
And the thing about running back, that you was kind of touching on, it's almost like, obviously there's the aiming points and who you got to block and pass pro, but a lot of it is like a natural kind of just feel.
it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because there's times where when you're playing the game, it's not about the play,
Right.
right? And you can go do a drill, and coach said, I need you to do this drill, make a cut, do a spin, and do that,
Correct.
and put your hand down. And
Yeah.
No,
Right.
Right.
I don't know how to do that.
Right.
But if you get in the game,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to react to what you're seeing, what you're feeling. The basics, but it's no different than how you get into your professional life. You know the basics,
Right.
but you don't really understand what, all the knowledge you've gathered through practice and perfect repetitions.
Drills. Yep.
That when you get into the game and you see something come in front of you, how do you make the right
That
play?
second nature.
How do you see someone coming and you're like, oh my God, did you just see what he just did? I mean, you think some of the running back like Josh Jacobs here with the Raiders,
Mhm.
some of the stuff that he does,
Phenomenal.
he's not practicing that,
Right.
but he's practiced so much on how to be great
Second nature
that
to it.
it's second nature to him.
Yes.
And that's where you have to get to.
Yeah.
And that's tough to do.
Yeah.
And it takes a special talent. So the guys you're seeing in the NFL, I don't care what level they're at, where they how they got drafted, whatever the case may be, if they're, if they made a free agent, unsigned rookie free agent, like two of my best friends, and end up playing 7-8 years in the league, it is special to be in that league.
They legit.
No, that's that 1%, man. That's
They
that percent of a
legit.
percent.
They legit.
For sure. So you, in your shoot your shot moment, you talked about really being selective in where you want to go. So tell us about the ultimate decision of how you made the choice to go to Notre Dame, and then day one.
Well, the ultimate choice was the brotherhood, right?
Okay.
It's the guys that I met there
On your
And-
recruiting trip?
on my recruiting trip. So you kind of get the feeling of you going back. And I'll be honest, man. I mentioned earlier I was a nerd jock, so I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I really didn't. My parents, they were very supportive, pushed me to the limit to make sure my grades were good. I mean, I give you a story. I was in high school, and I started as a true freshman on varsity. And so when I did that, my freshman year, the coach, my grades came down a little bit. I made straight A's,
Mm-hmm.
and that was what my parents was used to. That was their expectation of me.
Right.
And so my dad I looked at my grades. I said, hey, I went from an A to a B, and in this class I had a C. And my coach said, hey, let me talk to your dad. Now a little birdie told me, don't just let my dad go in there to that office without telling him what was going to
What was
happen.
going on?
Right.
Right.
But I was like, coach got it. You're still young. You don't know how to navigate it, right?
Mhm.
And so I go in there and I say, Dad, coach want to talk to you. What do you want to talk to me about? I don't know. Second mistake. And so, so he walks in there, and my coach said, hey, Mr. Vickers, football season's here.
Right.
We're doing this. Jay's he's so good, and he's this, that, and everything else. And my dad's like, yep, okay, what's the problem? He goes, well, his grades came down a little bit, but that happens during football. My dad looked at me, shook his head, looked back at the coach and said, grades slip, football slips.
Ooh.
Make a decision. And we walked out. After that, I had all A's.
Damn right you did.
So
That's big time.
So I learned then the value of the education piece.
For
And
sure.
plus, I didn't want to get into what we call trouble back then. And if you know my household, my dad and my mom were not opposed to great disciplinary actions. And so what I did was I made a point to say, I'm going to keep my grades up to stay out of trouble. So
100%.
And so when I started looking at these schools based on their academic prowess,
Okay.
like a Notre Dame, I really still didn't know what it meant. So I've heard all the recruiter jargon and everything that I've heard from all the different coaches. And Lou Holtz, his recruiting jargon is ridiculous. I mean, the guy gets paid to speak all over the country
Yeah.
and all over the world.
Right.
So when he made the comment, Jay, no matter what school you go to,
Uh-huh.
the next 4 years of your life are going to be unbelievable. You're going to make great friends. You may even meet your wife. You're going to do this, X, Y, Z. So let me tell you now about how Notre Dame could be for you for the next 40 years.
Hey.
I was blown.
Got you.
And I can tell you already, all my teammates, all my brothers from all my Notre Dame brothers, they have the same story that came under that recruiting class and before us. And they would tell you about those next 40 years. And granted, do we all have the success story that we want? That doesn't matter what school you go to, it might not happen. But the brotherhood that we have, the connections, the relationships,
Absolutely.
the diversity of those relationships has allowed us to really do some really great things. And I tell you what, I can call that school now. I can go back there, and they have our full support.
It's a great institution, man. And it's funny that you say that because they always say that Duke basketball has a similar kind of pitch with Coach K, like a flawless pitch. Like, hey, you're going to play good basketball here, but you set for the next 40 years.
You
too.
good.
Right. So that's amazing. So we touched on it a little bit. Leaving Florida, South Bend, Indiana. There's a lot of fields out there. Music.
It's a little different.
lot
South
of
Bend.
You're being nice.
South Bend is definitely a little different. I met some great people though.
Absolutely.
And so,
Fantastic.
and one thing that going to Notre Dame taught me to do is you get to the opportunity not to just meet people from your region, because it's a school that's respected worldwide. So you have the
Absolutely.
opportunity to meet people from New York, from the West Coast, from the Southwest, from the Southeast. I mean, you meet people from the South. We all eat grits differently. You know what I mean? So it's
That's a fact. So
in
how do you eat
Texas,
them, by the way?
Oh man, I'm true South. I'm butter and cheese and
Okay.
but you.
You don't put no sugar like.
Yeah, I know
people put some
cats
sugar
from
in the
Texas.
grits,
They like
man.
to put sugar and
Yeah,
stuff in it.
like I'm
That's like cream of wheat. Like who eats that?
facts. So good. You true. No, keep
Never roll a
moving.
little sugar on your grits.
Oh
man.
Lord,
Oh,
no
man.
homo.
All right,
Please
let's
say
go.
that.
Let's go. Let's go.
Please say no. Please say no homo after you say it's okay to put sugar in your grits,
Yeah,
Miles.
man.
Because you know better
All right,
than that,
pause.
man.
Let's go to the name.
No,
So
but
did you feel when you kind of went in there that you got the bait and switch? So, you get this amazing, speech and pitch from Lou. And then once because you came on and right when your coach was Coach Davies, right?
so we had a year of Coach Holtz, then we had David.
Then you had David, got you.
And so when we did that switch, there wasn't a bait and switch. I will say that, because what he promised
Okay.
and what my running back coach promised, Coach Earl Mosley, was the education you're going to receive there, that brotherhood we talked about, and that was true, and the ability to meet so many different people.
And that's awesome.
That part was true.
Right.
We didn't expect Lou Holtz to retire when he did. That was unexpected. So, and I don't think he truly expected it either at that point. But the fact of the matter is it happened. So, and no matter what you do in life, you're going to find diversity. So that's probably the first time I had to deal with diversity, change of leadership, seeing how difficult it is for someone to just replace somebody in leadership.
Right.
How do you go through that process appropriately when you are, now the leader of a new team? Doesn't matter if it's in business or what have you, and you didn't recruit that team.
Right.
Those aren't the people that you brought in.
And you're replacing a legend and all the,
Absolutely.
the legacy, because we know LeBron's the GOAT, but he's just chasing a ghost of Michael.
Yeah,
So
I don't know why you said GOAT,
but he
Yeah.
is a GOAT though. Whether you want to compare him, whatever, he's chasing a legacy. So
Yeah.
that's the point that we're being made here.
Yeah.
No, I just like to deal with him. So, all right. With that, he had some successes. There were some things that you guys went to a lot of bowl games.
Yeah.
this is when Notre Dame was cracking.
Was
man.
killing it. I mean,
Yeah.
and the people that, because the time you said you came in
96.
96, right?
Right.
So that whole time frame that you were there, one, y'all were wrecking heads. The competition you guys are playing globally, like USC. I remember you knocking USC. The people you're playing against are like Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
just legendary, man. So give us a game day experience that you remember, whether it was a bowl game or just being in the atmosphere of going to Michigan
Strapping on that helmet.
and
that
beating
Golden Dome.
Tom Brady.
Well, I can tell you, one of my favorite memories is when we played at LSU in a
Okay.
regular season game. So you've heard of Death Valley,
Mhm.
how just how that crowd is, and the fan base. They're very passionate about their
Yes.
team, and they're loud, and the decibels there, and
Go Tigers.
I mean, and you're sitting there and you're going, man, they want to make us tiger bait. We got to go in here and
we
see
gotta
what
go.
we do.
Let's go. Right.
And so we go there, and it's kickoff, and everything you've heard about how loud it is, the excitement behind it, is true. I mean, I'm actually on the sidelines at kickoff, screaming at the top of my lungs to my teammate, saying, "Man, this is crazy."
What?
And he's saying, "Huh? Huh?" And I'm like, "This is crazy, huh? Huh?" But
Damn.
he kicked it off, and I'm going to use this name. One of my teammates is Alan Rossum, who just was. Did he get selected to the Hall of Fame? I know he was nominated for the Hall of Fame this year. So Alan Rossum, he led the league, led the country that year in punt returns, kickoff returns, just unbelievable talent from Texas, just incredibly fast. They kick it off to him. He returns it 50 yards. Almost took it to the house. Just
Okay.
one more block, he takes it to the house. It gets, you can hear a pin drop. But then it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say at the time they had Kevin Falk on their team too. So we're playing some good competition here.
Yeah.
And we end up beating them. But come fourth quarter, how we're talking in this studio, that's how we were talking on that sideline.
Shut 'em up.
Because the difference between that time period and Notre Dame,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter if we're winning or losing. Our fans don't leave.
No.
Yeah.
And so there, for us we finally looked back and said, where are all the fans? They were all Notre Dame fans.
Nice.
Wow.
All the LSU fans were gone. I'm not saying it's like that now, but that's how it was during that time period.
Nice.
So give me that feeling of putting the Golden Dome on, man. All the tradition with it, and I always bring up Rudy, but just we've heard a little bit about the walk-on tradition there as well.
Yes,
I
we had
understand
Jerome Sapp on.
Jerome
Oh,
Sapp
yeah,
on.
Jerome Sapp good too.
He put me on game on what the walk-on tradition is there.
Yeah.
Which didn't know that whole story, so like
at all.
took that to a different level.
Yeah.
Because at first we're like,
I was like, are y'all
Yeah.
all these great athletes at Notre Dame, and first thing people think of is
Rudy.
Rudy. Like,
Yeah.
That's a little disrespectful. But he taught me about the
Well, it's a heck of a movie.
The
I mean,
walk-on.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
he still does like autograph
yeah,
signs and
it's
stuff there all the
still.
time.
I ran into him at a Whole Foods.
I was gonna ask because
about a year
he's
ago.
still here in town,
Yeah,
right?
he's still in town. So
Wow. So give me that feeling of just putting the dome on.
I mean, it's one of those things where you have a responsibility
Mm.
because now you're wearing a different badge. And so when you're looking at a situation where you're going, man, when you put that helmet on, you're saying, I have a different type of responsibility right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be responsible not only on this field, but also I need to be responsible when I'm in the community.
Mm.
And so that's what that field is. And quite frankly, you're not sure if you're ready for that at that time
Wow.
because every game is a big moment.
Jeez.
There's no easy games at Notre Dame
Mhm.
because before all the TV deals that you see now, Notre Dame already had a TV deal.
It was NBC always back then.
Always.
Back
Yeah.
All
then
of
as
our
well.
all of our games were televised.
Mhm.
All of our home games were NBC.
Mhm.
There was no other TV deals out there that would get you on national television
Okay.
other than Notre Dame. You had regional games back then where you can catch your Florida State Seminoles and that, but you can see Notre Dame from coast to coast.
Yeah.
And what that means is when we play a team that you may say, hey, they should beat them pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
we get in their very best.
Oh yeah, you
Because
get
they
that's their Super
know
Bowl.
at that moment, their mama, their dad,
Everybody
their
watching
sister,
it.
their cousin, their girlfriend can watch them play that day.
Mhm.
Right.
And that may be the only time they're on national television.
For
Right.
sure.
So they want to show out.
They want to show out.
Did you real quick? I'm sorry, EJ. Did
Yeah, it's
you
all
go to? Did you get there? There's a guy named Emmett Mosley there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Man, Emmett Mosley was a legend in Colorado. So I'm from
Oh, yeah.
Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
He's same age as like my older brother, but he was like enemy number one, public enemy number one. He went to Mullen High School,
Oh, yeah.
and I remember Emmett Mosley, and I didn't like Notre Dame for a couple years just because Emmett Mosley went there.
Yeah, he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Okay.
And he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's just one play when my freshman year, I think we were playing Ohio State. They had Orlando Pace.
Mhm.
Pepe Pearson was on their team.
Oh,
I think we were number 5. They were number 3 in the country.
Jeez.
And this was Lou Holtz last year. And, we were getting beat. Probably they were up like, I think 2 touchdowns or something
Okay.
about to go into the halftime. And I knew the plays, and I was injured at the time, so I was sitting up. So when you're injured back then, you were up in the stands.
Mm.
Oh wow.
And so they had us up in the stands,
Man.
but we had our own little section.
That's right.
So I'm watching the play because I'm watching it from the end zone, and I'm going, and we're 80 yards from the other end zone, and I'm like, coach just called a screenplay. What?
You see it develop. You're like,
I'm already
what's
seeing it. I know what
right,
it
you're
was.
like, oh, what's going on?
And I'm looking, he throws it to Emmett. Mosley's going down the field 79 yards.
He was. He was a problem.
He didn't score. That's why I said 78, 79 yards. But the fact that he knew he can trust
Yeah.
Emmett to get
To make
him
that play.
to
Yeah.
make that play,
Dope.
Yeah.
and he knew what play to call
Mm-hmm.
and who to give it to, that shows you the talent he had.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Emmett
Yeah.
Mosley was a dude.
And last one before we move on, man, because we got to talk about it, man. Like, so, like you said, a lot of adversity. You went through school, and then you make a glorious return to the Japan
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
You say, yo, let me go ahead, rack up these yards, get this
Yeah.
game MVP,
MVP.
and a global game over in Japan, which we kind of hit. That Notre Dame is a global university. It's on that scale, man. But that had to be
You know what's interesting in that game? There was 20,000 fans at Tokyo Dome
okay.
to watch that game.
Wow.
crazy.
which I thought was pretty insane. To be
Well,
honest
I didn't
with
even
you.
know they had football over there, so I'm
I
just.
didn't either. They
My,
was
my people play over there now.
they
Oh,
were
now your people,
celebrating.
huh?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, they were celebrating 75 years of football, so they were having this preseason game, and they
Dope.
called it Notre Dame Legends. Now, I'm not a Notre Dame legend from that standpoint, but I mean, we had
You are now. You legendary, boy.
but we had Tim Brown
Yeah,
was
the
our
coach.
wide receiver coach.
Coach. Mm-hmm.
We
Lou
had
came back to
came
coach it.
back to coach.
Mm-hmm.
We had Chris Zorich,
Mhm.
who was a Hall of Famer,
That's
and
awesome.
as our defensive line coach. Joe Montana was supposed to be the quarterback coach, but he had some other commitments he had to make.
That's crazy.
It was just unbelievable, the type of people. We had Reggie Brooks, who was definitely a Notre Dame legend, who was our running backs coach. And if you ever seen Reggie Brooks play, I just say just look it up on YouTube, man.
Yeah.
He has to play against SC for those LA fans out there. That it's just legendary.
Yeah.
But when he called out, you know, my career was cut short at Notre Dame due to a shoulder injury, and I had arthritis build up in the shoulder, and I had multi-directional slippage, and so never really got a chance to take off once you got that close to
Yeah.
the ultimate dream, right? Which is every athlete's ultimate dream is to make it to the
To lead.
professional ranks,
Yep.
right? And so I didn't have that opportunity. So it always was like, man, I don't want to hang them up. So I work out, not to work out to go play, but I definitely wanted to just stay in shape. It's just part of who I am,
Mhm.
right? And so one of my teammates, who was the all-time leading rusher in Notre Dame history, is Autry Denson,
Yeah.
who was my big brother in college as well.
Okay.
And he goes, Jay, you should definitely try out, because we had to try out for this
Right.
team.
Saw it, yeah.
He goes, you should definitely try out. You stay in shape, man. Just go do it. I'm gonna do it. You should definitely go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, all expense paid trip to Japan. If you make it, he said, you gotta make the team. He said, dude, you'll make it. You'll be fine. I said, look, I said, dude, I haven't put on pads and hit anybody in 11 years,
Yeah,
bro. I say at least
When
11
I saw that,
years.
I was reading, I was just thinking it was like a
I saw that.
Yeah.
31 years
a
old.
game.
Yeah.
I was like, how?
Yeah, so I said 11 years, bro. And he said, listen, dude, I'm gonna be there.
And show
He
out.
mentioned, we had some other guys from the past. Lee Becton was going to be there.
Mhm.
So some legendary guys, Ray Zellers, Ray Z, shout out to Ray Z. He was going to be there. These are all legends. I'm like, oh man, I want to just be there, just be with them. So dude, you may do 10 plays, and a play may be, decoy on a pass route or
Right.
something like that. You may carry the ball a couple times, just make the team. Well, it turned out he had a prior commitment. A commitment came up. He got a new job. He couldn't go.
Oh, there you
So we did
go.
the tryouts. I made the team. He couldn't go. Lee Becton had a new job. He couldn't go and be gone for darn near 2 weeks.
Yes, let's
So
go.
I'm looking at Reggie saying, I called him. We just started this relationship. I called him and say, hey, man, yeah, so we know Coach Holtz. He's going to run that ball.
He's gonna run
He's
the
gonna
ride.
run the
Who
rock.
else is running that ball?
He is going to run that
Now,
rock.
I was lucky and very fortunate that I was at Fresno State at the time as an administrator, my first job in college athletics. And I asked athletic director for permission, and my boss at the time was Danny White, who is the athletic director of athletics for the University of Central Florida right now. And that's who hired me my first job into college athletics. I said, hey, look, there's this opportunity. And he also went Notre Dame.
Okay.
And
That helps.
he goes, well, I said, look, there's this opportunity. They're doing this game. He goes, oh, you need to do it. So they allowed me to work out with the Fresno State football team.
Okay.
And so before I started to work out with them, I actually was doing their mat drills. So before that started, I started just
That's
working
6
out.
a.m.?
Oh, yeah. I started working out more with one of the strength coaches.
Uh-huh.
And I said, hey, man, is it time for me to go?
Right.
I said, I can't just go out there and embarrass myself with
Mhm.
these young guys. He's like, we'll get you right. So I'm doing, stadiums, and running, and he's doing drills with
Cue the
me.
Rocky music,
And
man. Like
his
the
name was
comeback.
EJ too, right? So EJ got me. He was also with tracks. We doing all these wonderful things, man. And I finally get out there, and I'm doing drills. I'm talking about if they're running, I'm doing the hundreds with them. And I got to tell you, I was never last, and I ran with the speed group.
There you go.
Somebody's
so-
scholarship needed. Yeah.
Get revoked, right?
I gotta tell you, I went out
somebody
there.
owe Fresno say some money back.
Yeah,
So
let
they're
it
like,
go,
look.
man.
So then, and I told the coaches, treat me like an administrator, like the
like
players.
players.
So
Mhm.
they say, take your shirts off. I take my shirt off. And a lineman came up to me. He goes, oh, hell no. So how old was this dude? Why he more ripped than all of us? So the genes were there still.
That's
So that
awesome,
worked
man.
out.
Well-
And so I started running and ended up going to the game.
Showed out.
And no one knew
MVP.
how it was going to happen and what was going to happen. But, it's one of the best things that I love doing was able to get back to a point where I can go do it. My kids said they wanted to see me play. I was able to make it happen.
That's dope, man.
One of the things one of our old linemen asked, he says, "Hey, look, dude, you came back to the huddle. And, we weren't really moving the ball yet.
Mhm.
And you looked at the O-line and said, look, man, I need one block. Just give me one block. We good. We get back into play. That's when I did that,
Of the sideline.
the big one.
Man,
That's good stuff.
I want to give you a standing ovation for that because I saw 31 years old and I'm like, how did he get himself in shape to play another game? The thought of playing the game for me right now hurts.
But
So, like,
not even 31 like you've been in the game. Just like, I'm just going to come out.
again, I said how, period. Jeez,
Nah,
man, that's what's up.
That's
man.
awesome.
Hey,
awesome.
I hurt for 2 weeks, bro.
But that was a different time. That was a good hurt, though.
It
That
was a good hurt,
that was a
man.
good
so
hurt.
that trophy's still at the house.
Hey, there you
should
go.
be.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, hey, man, we had too much fun down memory lane, so we're going to have to speed up a little bit, man. We want to
No
jump
problem.
into In the Game, or, this is where we talk about kind of how you got started, and you mentioned some of this thing. And I think to start it off, just really acknowledging, especially when you come to the business side of things, is relationships mean so much.
Absolutely.
And you've started with a great foundation of an organization, and I'm calling the school an organization that understands relationships and give you deep-rooted relationships. So how did starting off, because you went actually the corporate side, I'll say, starting off with, I think, Pfizer and Hershey's were some of your first jobs coming out.
It was.
What was it, why'd you take those jobs, after coming out of school, and then what made you transition and want to get back into working in sports or in the college realm?
Good question. That's a great question. So when again, I'm a first generation college grad. So understanding the impact of education, but also not knowing what jobs were out there.
Oh, yes.
So one of the things that you see in a lot of different families when the education pieces aren't there, we don't know what's out there. We don't
Right.
know what kind of jobs you have. So even with our students we have on our campus at UNLV,
Mhm.
we need to educate our young people on how they can use their skills that they learned at school. Just find a passion and go after it, right? And so, and I found different things I enjoy. Like I do resume building. So when I was at Notre Dame, I was a junior career counselor
Okay.
where I did resume workshops for student
For the
athletes.
students.
And my first resume was just on a piece of notebook paper. And I had a mentor Jennifer Crittenden, who taught me how to do a resume. And
Okay.
I was able to take that and also teach others how to do their resume.
That's
Yeah.
fine,
To the
man.
point I had a resume workshop, and I had different companies there. One was Hershey, the other was Gallo Wines. Hershey was showing me, and I didn't know where to go. I just knew I needed to get a job,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to go back to Florida without a job. And so Hershey came to me and said, look, they're showing me Detroit and all these different places. And Gallo said, I did a resume workshop, and Gallo's there. I walked off the stage, and Gallo goes, hey, the representative for Gallo asked me, how does West Palm Beach sound? I said, that sounds great. I'm from Florida. When is the interview?
Mhm.
And verbatim was, you just had it. And that's how
Wow.
I got my first job.
That's
Wow.
boss right there.
And so from there, I was still getting recruited from Hershey, no pun intended. It was a sweeter deal. Moved me to Orlando. Then I got promoted quickly. I was a state manager of South Carolina.
Mm.
Then I got recruited by Pfizer, and I ended up in Atlanta overseeing 5 states and a broker team there. But I kept looking back at athletics
Yeah.
and understand what they were doing. Didn't know what the guys in the suits were doing.
Right.
Just wondering what's going on. I started asking more questions. If you go to a athletics website, you're gonna say, "Man, what does this assistant AD do? Or what does that person do?
Right.
Or
A
that director
development
of
person in
this or
development. Yeah.
And so when I finally said, "Look, I want to make a big change," which meant pay cut, which meant doing some things a little bit different, that's going to put me in a different situation. This takes me to my second shot, right? That I took, and I betted on myself. At the time, I was a single dad, and I said, look, I want to get into athletics. So
Mhm.
I used my Notre Dame connections. and that brotherhood, and got on a conversation with Gene Smith, who was the AD at Ohio State.
Yes, gee.
And he was also a Notre Dame alum. And first thing he said is, Jay, I don't have a job for you right now, but I'm looking at your resume. He took 30 minutes with me, and he said, you have great experience. You work for 3 Fortune 500 companies, and the biggest thing you learned was relationship building. He said, you need to be in development. I said, what is development?
Right.
He said, it's just like sales, but you're representing the student athletes. You're representing the institution, and you are getting people to invest into your future. That's fundraising. I said, so that's how I got my scholarship. He goes, absolutely. I said, I can do that. So it gave me another passion that I can go out and be a mouthpiece, if you will, for other young people like myself. So they can have other, that generational change when it comes to education. Because I know what that looks like. I know what it feels and the impact it has on a family. Because I'm not the oldest. I have an older sister who's 2 years older than me.
Right.
Since I've graduated, she's graduated. My brother, who's 8.5 years younger than me, he's graduated. But you want to know what's even more powerful? My mom has graduated.
Oh, wow.
And so it not only does it go forward, it goes backwards.
Facts. Yes,
And
yes.
so to have the opportunity to do that and make a change in our family and how we look at education was very impactful. So from there, I took that bet on myself, and I told my sons, look, we're moving to Fresno. Because I called Danny White. He says, man, I'm loving your resume. I want to give you a chance. You can build relationships. We head out to Fresno, and I landed there with nothing. And I said, I took a huge pay cut from what I was making in corporate America.
Yes.
And said, you know what? If you're passionate about what you want to do, you have that drive, you just make it work. And, a couple years later, we were back to where I used to be.
All right.
We were back to do things the way that we like to do it. It wasn't like, hey, just eat these leftovers all day. It was just, we made it happen. And then I felt good about what I was doing, what I was selling, what we were trying to tell people to do.
I like it.
Yeah.
How much of that came from, I guess, just the process of playing? The end part of your career is like, I want to go to pro, but I can't play. Injuries had me.
Yep.
And then now to change careers in the middle of, to your second, profession. What about your makeup? Where did that come from to be able to have the mental strength to kind of get through those parts?
My parents, my family, just having that motivation, the will not to quit.
Yeah.
Then being able to put together core values that work for me. And it's kind of corny. I know I mentioned earlier I'm a nerd jock, so my core values are instilled by heart, just having enough heart to go out and do something. But that heart is broken down by H, being hardworking. E is excellence with integrity. My dad always said, look, we might not have a lot, but we will have character and integrity.
Okay.
And so you can have excellence, but that doesn't always follow with integrity, right?
Right.
And so then A is for accountability, not just accountable for the negative things that happen in your life, but also the positive things, right? Like sometimes we got to pat ourselves on the back. Like what you guys are doing right now.
Celebrate those wins,
that's,
man.
That's big.
Yeah.
The R is respect for people, and the T is teamwork. You can't do a lot what we're doing without having people that you can rely on, depend on, and make those things happen. So I've been very fortunate to be able to be around people ever since I was a kid that said, hey, don't do that or do this, or let me show you this, but also having the ability to listen.
To listen.
Yeah.
To be coachable, be part of a team.
Yeah, got to be
part of
coachable,
it.
man.
Yep. Yeah. So really quick, man, just so we can stay on, man, we're rocking and rolling. So we got the quick hit sponsored by Thick Fit. All right. So when it comes to your health, it starts in the kitchen. Whether you're losing weight or trying to stay fit, it starts with what you eat. So Thick Fit Meal Prep is here to help you along the way, providing healthy, delicious meals that are easy on the go, fitting everyone's lifestyle. Call 702-850-3388 or on Instagram, Thick Fit Meal Prep. So Miles, you got those quick hits?
I do.
Let's get it.
So Jay, real quick, first time you've been starstruck? If ever.
First time I was starstruck, I was at the Super Bowl when it was in Jacksonville, and Barry Sanders was at this party.
Sweet.
That's dope.
Them quads is huge too. Shout out to somebody in your playing career that you played that was like, that's a real dude.
That is a quick hit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
somebody that quick hit you.
First person, think.
Kevin Falk.
Nice.
Okay. Start one. Place one of these players on the bench, and then you got to cut one. Start
Okay.
one of them. Place one on the bench. You got to cut. Autry Denton, Jerome Bettis, Rocket Ismail.
Man, that's not fair, man. That's not fair.
Woo.
I don't know if I can answer that one.
Better figure it out, coach.
I don't know if I can answer that one. Yeah, that's like I'm sweating on that one, bro. Yeah, that's. Well, you got to remember though, we did running back committee with those guys.
Yeah.
You know, so you talk about incredible talent, where not one of those guys deserve to be on anybody's bench. I mean, or on anybody's bench, and you definitely can't cut them. So I'm going to say this: Autry Denton is going to be my running back.
Yep.
To start, because Jerome Bettis actually was a fullback in college.
Okay. Yep.
So he'll be a
Ooh.
fullback.
Way to navigate yourself out of
Yeah.
that one.
Number
Okay.
6.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Yeah,
Number
then-
6.
Then obviously we have Rocket to do his thing.
Yeah, I got you. All right. So more dislike, USC or Michigan?
Michigan.
Oh, that was quick.
I'm surprised by that, but
Yeah. Whatever happened to the because I'm a Miami guy too, so that rivalry. I wish they would bring that back, but I don't think it would ever be the same as it was back in the day.
It's a little different now.
It's a,
Yeah, a little different.
It's a little
They played
different
a good
now.
game against Florida State last week, though.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Florida State, you got some work to do.
Got some really
They
work.
got some work to do.
I
Bring
mean-
those mesh jerseys back out with the belly button showing, because
Yeah, one of my
y'all
high
got some
school
work to do.
teammates is he played there, and he's the wide receiver coach, Ron Dugans. So
Uh-huh.
if I got belief in Ron, he'll get it right.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Do it.
So don't want to glaze over everywhere you went before we get into the winning circles. I do want to spend time because you dropping some stuff here, but you've touched a lot of places, and I'm just
Yeah.
going to rattle off a couple of them just to give them shine because they are a part of your journey.
Of course.
But in no particular order, but you've mentioned Fresno State, University of Arizona, UNLV, not back to back, but you've had a couple stints there. Back to back if you want to talk about the different roles, right? So you started kind of on the more of the sports side, and then now on the school side, right?
Yep,
The
absolutely.
administrative side, and NIU. I feel like I'm missing one, but
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So those are very different universities and reasons you go there. You added certain things to your tool belt and to your toolkit because you went, like you said, from the fundraising to ticket sales to, front of the office, sports to athletic. What was the biggest thing that you learned from there, and what was like the hardest skill that you developed?
I would say understanding how to navigate the political landscape of
Ooh.
a campus.
Whew.
So you're
Whew.
dealing with different people from
Landmines.
Yeah. So you're dealing with different people, not only from your student athletes and what their needs are,
Okay.
wants are. You're dealing with the people internally on your team, your staff, your colleagues, as well as the people that you serve externally.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those roles, I've been fortunate to be in leadership roles. So I'm serving externally, and I consider myself a servant leader. So to be in a position where everyone is a teammate of mine.
Okay.
They don't report to me.
Right.
I remember one of my mentees, which is an honor to be somebody's mentor, right?
Facts.
He would introduce me and say, "Hey, this is my boss," and I would say, "Wait a minute, I'm your colleague,"
I love it.
and I would
That's
do
dope.
that in front of the donor. They said, "No, I'm a colleague. I work for him.
I
We
love
work together. We're a
That's
team."
good stuff, man.
And
That's
that way it
leadership.
showed that you wanted people to be with you and work with you. Did I have to go out and help build, a donor event or stuff like that? No, but I wanted to do it anyway because I always wanted to show, especially if I had the time, is show my teammates that just because my title doesn't mean anything.
Right.
My title is just how they separate how we get the job done.
Yeah.
And so, and when you're on a team and you're in the red zone, just kind of one of the, things I like to use as metaphors I like to use is, it doesn't matter how you get down to the red zone, but once you get to the red zone,
But
we all got to come together. You're
Yeah.
going to see the coach call a timeout. Quarterback's going to say, how do we get into the end zone?
We gotta
How
punch
do
it
we
in.
score?
we got to get in there.
And the only way you score is everybody has
Everybody.
to do their job.
Yes.
No one could be sitting in there just pointing, saying, you do this and you do that. And so I feel like when we're in the red zone, we have to work together.
I like it. So Now, we're gonna get into the winner's circle, man. This is that platform, and I'm excited. You know, you're dropping some exclusive stuff here on Black in Sports, man. We're first to really kind of talk about what you have going on. So, your title is, over the research and innovation, and just really was surprised because we had a kind of little bit of conversation before this, but just what's going on there. So, tell us a little bit about that role in that title and how you guys are looking to maximize performance in sports here in Las Vegas.
Absolutely. So we've seen unprecedented growth in our city. I mean, we are regarded as the entertainment capital of the world. But I would challenge anyone to ask to see, have you seen any growth in sports the way you've seen growth in sports in Las Vegas, from the Aces to who are now in the WNBA finals, the Golden Knights that perform year after year. Now we have the Raiders, the Lights, UFC. I mean, the list goes on and on. When you think about boxing, you still think about Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Right? So we are the epicenter of sports when
biggest summer league. Like, we expanded summer league. We took over that. Like, so absolutely.
So even all the different NCAAs bring a lot of their tournaments here.
Yep.
I mean, we're starting to become that mecca of sports that we should be, and
Yeah.
that hub is there. But what we need to make sure we recognize is that we also have a really great institution here that serves not only this community, but also can serve the sports community. And not just the sports community locally in the southern region, but also across the country.
Okay.
And the reason why we can do that is because of the great talent that we have when our faculty, our researchers, and our students, and who are doing great things in research and innovation. And so what we wanted to do as an institution is create a platform where we can start to highlight and showcase the talents of our great faculty and our staff and our students.
Okay.
And so to be able to do that, we're going to utilize sports research and innovation to allow us to be able to give them the opportunity to showcase that. Like, for example, you may have heard of the young lady who, Haley's arm.
Haley's pitch, yeah.
And
Haley's
so
arm,
when she
yeah.
did that at the World Series, she threw the first pitch at the World Series. What you didn't realize is that innovation was done right here in Las Vegas at UNLV.
That's crazy.
And so not only have we done this great research and these great innovations, we've also done a great job of keeping it a secret. Well, we're going to take the lid off with sports research and innovation, just like we've done it with athletics, just like we've done it in our community and our city. We need to be able to do that as an institution to show, hey, here's another reason why you need to put UNLV on the map. Here's another reason why, if you're not considering coming to UNLV or Las Vegas, you need to. And so we're going to have the opportunity to do that. We have a president that believes in economic development, and President Keith Whitfield, who was our first African-American
That's so
president
dope.
in the history
Clap
of
up that, man. So happy to see him here.
So it's going to be very interesting as we move forward in doing that. We're going to showcase what we call our pillars of excellence to ensure that and these are just our initial areas of focus.
And that's what that was one of my questions I was going to ask. So you initially identified 11 pillars that you want to kind of operate on. So it's great to hear that you're going to, as the need sees fit, or you're nimble enough to kind of make those changes.
Well, we have to be. If you want to be successful in the business, you have to be nimble enough to react to what's happening in today's world. And so one of the things, and just kind of give you an example of that, is one of the pillars at one time was women in sports, because we want to make sure there's equality and equity in sport. And when we talk about sport, we're not just talking about the game. We're talking about in leadership. We're talking about in coaching and administration.
Or one of the main things that you spoke about earlier, right?
Exactly.
Or the thing that I had an issue with is, like, I didn't know that you could do other things in sports other than being a coach or player.
Absolutely.
So identifying those different areas and highlighting them and creating curriculum
and
around
making sure
that.
there's equity within that. So, but to ensure that, and the women in sport piece is super important. And we have some really good academia that can back up that research and support that. But we also felt, because, as we like to say, we're flying the plane as we build it, if you will, is that
That's how the stadium was built.
Yeah. And so we're seeing the changes that are happening in our country right now. And so we say, you know what? Let's make that more inclusive. So now that pillar is called diversity and inclusion in sport.
I like it, man.
So that was definitely one that I wanted to highlight. So the two that jumped out to me when I looked at the 11, like, they're all great pillars. and it was great to see that we had like the golf component because we had Kendall Murphy on,
Yeah.
who's leading that and has been big. Well, big involved in that and told us it's crazy how dynamic that program is, and it's here in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get celebrated. But yeah,
Right.
the diversity and inclusion one was really something I was excited about, and then the sports business one as well. So, what are the thoughts behind creating those pillars, and what are their tasks to push forward?
So one of the things that we wanted to do when we looked at the pillars is say, one, I want to have a conversation, be able to sit back and really explain to people who want to support us, people who want to be involved in it, what do we do? What's sports-related research
Right.
and innovation? Because again, you think it's just coaching or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, or just playing the game. But there's so many facets to it.
Wow.
The sports business side of it. How do you run an organization? Is very different than you going out selling cookies, right? Or doing a bake sale.
Right.
You need to be able to have the opportunity to understand ticket sales, sponsorships, fundraising, all the above. And the professional game is different than the college game. So, and also the needs that they have in those different organizations,
Right.
or there's some differences there.
Yeah.
So, can we put together a platform or curriculum where we can definitely educate our young people of the different dynamics of job creation? And one, we can have an impact on economic development through sports business, especially with
Right.
all the sports teams that have moved here
Right.
and call Las Vegas home. But to be able to have our students stay here and be a part of those organizations
That's dope, man.
would be huge.
Mhm.
And
That's dope.
then also staying in line with being one of the second most diverse university in the country.
Back to back, second year
Back
in
to
a row.
back, second year in a row, we need to make sure we recognize that there is a need for diversity and inclusion.
That's amazing. And the word that I liked that you really used was nimble, because sports is such it's just a nimble business anyway, right? And I always think about how just media works now. And when I was in college, social media wasn't even a thing now, and now
Absolutely.
that's an actual career field in a lot of different avenues. So I love that you said nimble with that.
Yeah,
how do you stay innovative?
Well, my mentor, Sean Frazier, who's the director of athletics, one of my mentors, and like a big brother to me, is the director of athletics at NIU. He would always say the speed of the game. And so, the speed of the game changes rapidly, right? So you have to
Yes.
be able to react to that. And, whether it changes based on what's going on in the country. I mean, sports is kind of the epicenter of how that works, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, because that's where a lot of people learn about leadership skills or teamwork skills or things of that nature. There's so many skills that are learned through sport where we need to have the opportunity to be able to move quickly when something changes. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I learned how to persevere. You
Right.
get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah.
And you don't let a person see you hurt. I mean, there's been many times I got hit dead in the stomach, and I'm like, all right, I want to cry, but it's not gonna happen right now. I can worry about that later. But that's
Right.
but that's life. You
Yeah.
know. And so it doesn't matter what sport you play, what court you on, what field you on. You learn these basic skill sets that's gonna help you be
For sure.
successful in life. And so you continue to try to push that, and allow us having that type of thinking
Yeah.
and having the type of people on our team like John Mercer, Dr. John Mercer, Dr. Nancy Lowe, having those type of people on our team that gives us the ability to not only think about the academia side of it, but also they understand that we have to move quick when things need to happen. It's pretty
That's
unbelievable.
unbelievable, man.
So, Arizona has a kind of global institute that they're doing.
Arizona State.
It's Arizona State. Like,
Yep.
what are some of the things that are a little bit different, or is there any kind of collaboration opportunities there with? Because I know Dr. Kenneth over there works on that project.
So one of the things we want to do that we had planned on doing prior to COVID was going out and to different institutes. So I was actually going to go to one of their summits and have the opportunity to see how they do things. Because again, this isn't, we're looking for best practices.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I don't know about the differences between other institutes. I can just tell you what we're trying to accomplish.
Nice.
And what we're trying to accomplish is we want to blend the two, and we want to break silos, and we want to focus on collaboration, not only internally with all our different divisions and our different faculty, and get us to work together to be a better UNLV, but also be in a position where we can also work with other institutes across the country,
Right.
because the impact we make on sports doesn't have to just be done at UNLV. This is going to help us make not just bigger, faster, stronger athletes.
Mhm.
We want better prepared professionals
Absolutely.
as
Awesome,
well.
man.
So to be able to do that and work together with other institutes, which is what we had planned to do prior to COVID, when we can go travel and do all those things.
Right.
It's something that we still want to make sure that happens. And hopefully when COVID starts to slow down, or when this changes, whatever the new post-COVID is,
Right.
we want to make sure that we go out and we reach out to our sister schools and have the opportunity to talk shop.
That's
And also share our experiences and share our research, if it can be shareable at that point, but innovations and things of that nature. But we definitely want to have fun doing it.
Awesome. And then, you're definitely going to be promoting this. And so, we want to support and figure out, I know since this is breaking, we don't have a date, but you are going to be, putting out like a website and ways
Absolutely.
the community can get involved and things like that. So,
Absolutely. So we'll be working on different sponsors that we'll be working with, as
Okay.
well as opportunities for philanthropic donations and things of that nature, just so we can make sure we have the resources necessary to keep going. We've been very fortunate right now that the Governor's Office of Economic Development has given us a grant to help
that's
support
awesome.
our researchers and our faculty and bring our team together
And believes in that vision, man.
and believes in that vision,
That's
because
awesome.
we can have a true impact with economic development, and we know we need that right now across the world, not just here in Las Vegas.
Right.
But that's what we want to focus on, is how we can make that impact with our students.
Oh, that's great, man. Well, like we said, man, time flies. We having fun. I know I left a couple questions on the table, man. So here's where we like to call the assist, man. This is where you give us, even though you've been dropping gems and giving us great feedback and things to kind of progress us and make us our level best. But if you could tell your younger self something or words to live by for our audience, what's a quick quote or mantra that you live by?
A mantra I live by. What's important now?
Boom. Real simple. What's important now, huh? Stay focused on that.
Yeah, that's just it. Just stay in that focus. If I can go back to my younger self and say, Jay, just really think about what's important now before you make that mistake. Now, I talked about accountability earlier, and I believe every mistake I've made, every success I've had has made me to who I am today.
Right.
And so I wouldn't want to change that, because those are my war wounds, Those
Absolutely.
are my marks. And so I want to make sure I keep those, and that's how I earn my stripes. But if I could go back, I would say stay focused on what's important now.
Yeah.
There it is, man. That's beautiful. Hey, thank you, man. We really appreciate having you on, man. This is amazing. I want to thank the people here for listening. We definitely will drop the contact and information, and any updates we have, we'll definitely post that on our social media, because this is great, man. This is here happening in our backyard, and we're doing some things. We're doing really big things. So please follow us. Give us feedback on the show. You can find us at Black in Sports on your favorite social media platform. That is Black in Sports. And then we drop the Locker Room every Tuesday. That's our short format where we talk about different topics. So maybe when we launch, we can bring you back in to talk about
Absolutely.
the sports performance and what that's doing in the Locker Room version. We're on all of your podcast platforms, Black in Sports Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.